MacBook. You can't hide from me anymore. Wow, we haven't had a problem like this in a while. I love it. Ah!
I don't know what's going on.
Cannot defeat me this week. Woo, 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 woo. I want to play that song again because it makes me want to punch stuff. That song, Don't Touch, makes me want to punch stuff, Ben.
You're not supposed to. It says don't touch, which means don't punch.
Don't you ever want to punch stuff, ever? Oh, man. All right, welcome, everybody. Brews and Bros. We got off to a rocky start. Eric wants another beer. Hey, Eric, we threw you off last year. Or last week. We probably threw you off last year, too. But definitely last week was classic. We had a classic start last week. That was awesome. With the Nick and Rick show. And the more we said that the Nick and Rick last week fast, it really did sound like the Naked Rick. So I get it.
Yeah, when I said it that one time, it did for sure. I listened back and I was like, yeah, that sounds like Naked Rick. But I said Nick and Rick.
I just thought it was all Vika. I thought it was like wishful thinking for her or something. But that wasn't the case, I guess.
Nope.
Well, I'm sorry we went through all that. It was my fault. One of my settings got goofed up again. And with that process, now Ben is no longer upside down, which sucks.
That was the best part of the show. That was going to be the whole show. It was going to be me upside down. It was going to be awesome.
Wanted to do the whole show upside down. That would have been great.
It was me. So I had to go and fix it. And then dang it.
It was one of the settings. And again, the MacBook is a little foreign to me. You know, I'm getting better with it, but a little foreign. I probably need some official training. Hey, I got some announcements. Anybody want some announcements? Cheers, Ekis. How you doing? Mom and Dad, Eric, anybody else? I'm having the Diablo Belgian style double tonight. Anybody else?
I got a brew tonight. Go for it. This brew I found last summer and I loved it. And I realized, and they just remade it again. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's Mountain Dew Liberty Brew. It says brew in the title. That should count. It says it's got 50 flavors. And I got to tell you, I don't like Mountain Dew that much. But this stuff is like the best tasting stuff I've ever tasted in my life. It's crazy how good it is. So if you haven't tried this, you should try it. It says 50 flavors in one, and it tastes like 50 flavors in one.
Wow, they
took a flavor from every state. They took like the 10,000 lakes from Minnesota.
I'm a little slow.
Cow poop from Wisconsin.
I'm a little slow, so it took me a while to get there. I get it. What did you say? Cow poop from Wisconsin?
Yeah, I can taste it in there.
Oh, nice.
It's weird, but it makes it something. I don't know what.
Ekis is drinking some space dust. I've had too long of a week to figure out how to pronounce that first word. It's in the chat. Nico's here. Rick has got a British mild. Dang.
Mild.
Butter's silver bullets. What? Dang. Is Butter going to show up this week? We hope we see Butter. We miss Butter. Butter, cheers to you, buddy. All right. So Ben, does that have more? That has more flavors than Dr. Pepper, then, right? Like one of Dad's.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper's only got 23 flavors. That sucks. Dang. This is more than twice that many flavors. I mean, come on.
Oh, classic. All right, so big change tonight. No guests. We had to give our guests a rest. We were putting them we were grinding on them, and we didn't want them to unsubscribe or leave the show or not want to come back ever again. Plus, we were going to try to keep this a little shorter.
Heck yeah.
Ben and I try to be too funny sometimes. I know it doesn't do much for you. I laugh a lot. No, this helps me. But we figured we'd give Sarah a break this time. She doesn't have to stay up too late to watch us if she's watching. She got a big day tomorrow. Ephraim's birthday party.
Yeah.
Ephraim.
I wish I could go. I got to say.
I know, me too.
It's so weird. It seems like that's one thing I noticed about Ephraim's birthday party is like when it comes around again, it's almost like, man, didn't we just have Efren's birthday party like 3 months ago? It's weird how it feels that way to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can remember everything that happened last year, and it's probably because like Andrew's family loves playing games, and I love playing games, and we spend like half a time at the party just playing games, and I love that. And it's probably the most, the best birthday party of anybody's, in my opinion, because we spend most of the time playing games the whole time. And I'm really disappointed that we're not going out there, but it's weird, man. Like I don't feel comfortable staying at hotels right now, and to drive 5.5 hours, and then have to. I'm not driving back home the same day. That's nuts. I don't want to stay at a hotel, and I don't want to stay at mom and dad's just because, they got a lot of stuff, a lot of health issues going on, and I don't know what we have here. If we have something, or if we could bring something to them, or I don't know. Somewhere along the drive, I stopped to fill up gas, and somebody used the gas pump that I had, and I didn't. I don't know. Who knows? So it's just one of those weird things where I really wish that we could go, because it's probably one of the most fun I have all year is hanging out with Andrew's family and our whole family and playing games together. And I remember last year we had like, man, it must have been like 11 people playing or 12 people playing a concept. That was awesome. And we were playing like what's the other one? The Resistance. We had like 10 people, 11 people playing Resistance, 12 people. I don't even know how many. It was fun.
All right, I got a couple of things. You're right. We do have a couple of things to get to. We got people already asking some stuff about Packers. Bernard Nixon is here, and he's already asking, trying to get us going on a question.
All right, let's do it.
Hang on. Well, okay, we'll jump into it. I do have a couple of announcements. We'll work those in later. We'll work back in later. We'll jump into some Packers. All right, we'll address this. Bernard says, do you think A-Rod is overrated? Bernard, you should watch some of the previous videos we've done. We've been talking about A-Rod a lot in recent weeks. And I was actually going to try to go the whole show without talking about him this week, which is hard.
You can't.
But no, he is underrated in my opinion.
I believe he is underrated at this point as well. I actually saw a video the other day on YouTube. I don't remember if there was 2 videos I watched. One of them was that Jackson Kruger guy who does good videos, but he's got the most boring voice and like narration of all. Like honestly, it's what I would love to do if I had time and like the technical savvy, is to break down plays and like show things that are going on. Like, that's like, I love that stuff. But this guy's voice is so boring that it's just like, man, he needs to get somebody else to do the talking for him, because that's just terrible. And the other one I saw was another guy. I don't even know who it was, but it's something like, is Aaron Rodgers good anymore or something like that. And he was showing things that I didn't even realize last year, where Rodgers is throwing off his back foot a lot on like outs, like on slant or like out routes and stuff. Like he'll catch the ball in the red zone and not really set his feet and just kind of throw it. And he's throwing the ball behind guys like a lot. And when he's not using proper mechanics. Now in the past, he could get away with it and it didn't matter. And it was usually, he had enough arm strength and everything else to make the throw perfect. But he showed multiple plays from last year. One of them was a Devontae drop that was actually thrown behind him, and Devontae wasn't. I don't think it was drilled at him, but it was drilled at him behind him. And I don't think Devontae was expecting that, and it would have been a touchdown had he caught it, but he ended up dropping it. And there was a couple other ones like the Lazard and some other guys where he's throwing behind guys, and then they're showing other throws where he sets his feet and he's making like a pinpoint accurate 25-yard out route pass where in the 49ers playoff game to Alan Lazard, who's got like 2 guys draped all over him, and it's a perfect pass, and it was like, wow. So it's like the biggest thing with Rodgers right now, I think, is his mechanics and his inconsistency in those mechanics are what are hurting him. And I don't know why that happens when you've been in the league for this long and you should know what's going on. Like he's doing too much Brett Favre stuff and not enough Tom Brady stuff. And I don't get it. And it's not like, and these plays weren't like there was pressure on him. There's one play where there wasn't anybody within 5 yards of him. He got a shotgun pass, started to fall backwards and throwing the ball, and there wasn't even any pressure on him. And he the throw was not an accurate throw.
Mm-hmm.
And like they showed a lot of the Detroit game. Yeah, hang on. The Detroit game where he was overshooting guys. It was the same thing where he wasn't like setting his feet. He was just like, it was weird. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what's up. And the other thing too, he can't quite he doesn't have the same, explosion as far as getting away from the rush anymore. Like he just can't do it. And he still thinks he can, and he needs to cut that crap out and just freaking, stay in the pocket or throw it away or whatever, not try to get away anymore, because he doesn't have the speed to outrun these defensive ends, like the Watts and he'd probably be JJ Watt, he's slower, but the Bosa's, Melvin Ingram,
Hunter,
Flowers, Daniil Hunter, those guys are faster than him, and he needs to start realize. He needs to realize that. So go ahead. What you're saying?
You can still outrun some guys, like the bigger guys, but those, the more and more of those edge guys have a lot of speed, and he can't get around the corner on those guys anymore. So, okay, here's my theory on that, because I've noticed it too. I mean, you go back, it's clear. You go back and watch like highlights of Rodgers from, late 2000, 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. Look at the mechanics there, and you look at them in the last couple of years, and it's very different. And I think, we saw all those crazy plays where he's off platform but he flips his hips to get his shoulder square, and then he can still drill a ball while going to his left. That's why he's so good at going to his left and throwing accurately, because
he's great on the run,
because he can do that. But then he still has a foot on the ground. What he was doing a lot is no feet on the ground throws, and he was doing it more and more. And my theory on that is it's going back to the way the 2018 season started. I think that's affected him. I think getting that shot in the knee after sitting out half a year in 2017 with the collarbone break, and then he's in the pocket in that spot, and that guy comes in low, and he played the whole. I mean, most people wouldn't have played the whole schedule that year, right? They wouldn't have started all 16 games, even though he got knocked out in the last game with a concussion in a stupid game, whatever. But the only reason he did it is because he's like, damn it, I missed half the season last year, and I'm not going out with this. But that was a low shot, took out his knee, and he had to play on that. And I think he's like, look, it's the old Favre thing. Why do you think Favre never got injured? Favre never had a knee injury. And you know why? Because he hardly ever had his feet on the ground when he threw. And he's probably thinking, you know what? Favre avoided those injuries when he was throwing with both feet off the ground. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And he's figured out how to do it pretty well. But is he less accurate with no feet on the ground than when he's stepping into the throws or has feet on the ground? Yeah, he's less accurate. That's my thought.
Actually, there's another video I watched too. It was about Gardner Minshew, because I like Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, how's his mustache?
It was great, but they were talking about his feet, and they were showing throws of him when he had his feet flat on the ground, and he was throwing it, and it was pinpoint accurate. They had showing him running outside the pocket and throwing and kind of setting he does a good job with like Aaron Rodgers, where he, adjusts his upper body to throw the ball to the right spot where he wants to. Perfect pass. Then they show him in the pocket, and he's kind of like standing on his tiptoes, and he's hopping around on his tiptoes, and then he throws it from his tiptoes, and he overthrows guys, and he underthrows guys. And it was weird to watch it. I was like, why is he even doing that? Like, why is he on his tiptoe? Why is he bouncing around? And the guy was showing the video on it. It was just like, it makes no sense, but it's something he's got to fix, because he just does this, and I don't know why. And then the weirdest part, they'll show the next thing, where he's got both feet flat on the ground. He's still moving within the pocket, but he's throwing the ball perfectly. And I don't know how these guys do it, why they don't do the same thing over and over again. Like, aren't they being coached this? Don't their coach, like, they have a quarterback coach. Doesn't the quarterback coach watch the video with them after the next, like, that game and be like, hey, see how you ever hop it on your toes and then you overthrew the guy, and then watch the next play where you're flat-footed and you're perfect in the pass? Like, doesn't Luke Getsy get with Rodgers and be like, hey, stop fading backwards when you're throwing outside, an out route on the goal line to Devontae and missing him? If you just catch it, pivot, throw, and move your body into the throw, it would have been a perfect pass, instead of you leaning backwards and falling backwards and throwing. Like, that's what the coaches are supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So who's doing that? Somebody's got to do that. Get on them. I mean, that's the only thing I would say. It's very strange this year, because this offseason, because this is the first time where there's a lot of, media around the country, and they've got Aaron Rodgers not even in the top 10 quarter. Some people have not in the top 10. of quarterbacks this year. Some of them got him up like Chris Sims got him at number 3. Some guys got him at like 5. Some guys got him at 7. Some guys got him at like 50. It's crazy. He's all over the place. He's not even the top 50 players of the league. It's like, it's just strange. There's no other quarterback like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Like everybody else is pretty much like, okay, he's about here, he's about here, he's about here, he's about here. And then Rodgers can be anywhere from 3 all the way down to 15 or lower, and all these different lists of people. Like Pro Football Focus has got him not even, they got him way out of there. So It's like, who's right, who's wrong? I don't know.
Well, here's a couple of things. Now, I'm going to get to some comments in the chat here real quick too in a second. But as far as Rodgers goes, Marcellus Wiley was just on with a couple guys, Speak for Yourself, trying to say how Rodgers, he was referring to that top 10 list. And LeVar Arrington and Emmanuel Acho, who Emmanuel Acho, by the way, started doing these really informative videos about being a black man and stuff. So if you're interested in that, you should check it out. It's really good stuff. It's uncomfortable conversations with a black man, and I learned some stuff watching that. So check out Emmanuel Acho's stuff. But anyway, yeah, Rodgers is all over the place. I didn't see where Tom Grassi put him. I saw Tom Grassi did a top 20 quarterbacks. I didn't compare that to your list, Ben. Your list from last week.
List is the definitive list.
I am going to recycle that and put that out as a shorter version rather than our long-winded show last week. But I didn't see how it compares. But Aaron Rodgers. The thing that I always go back to for a lot of these people that undercut Rodgers and undervalue him is they're not watching all the games. They're not watching all the Packers. They're not watching every snap from every Packers games like we are. Now, I've watched almost every single play of Aaron Rodgers' career. And I watch how he plays, and there are a lot of factors, obviously. But he's developed some bad habits, which I think happens to anybody when you're in any sort of job or business or thing that long. You develop some different habits sometimes, and that's where you need, like you said, a coach to be like, hey, this is happening. Let's straighten this out, and we can be more effective. But that'll happen to anybody in any job for any length of time if you're doing it long enough. But I still don't understand, how they can compare or keep them off some of these lists, put them below other guys that are on these lists. Again, I know they're all excited about Tom Brady's the legend who just keeps going, and Drew Brees has got the crazy completion percentage. And, for some reason, Matt Stafford's like the new golden boy again. I don't know. And then on top of that, you've got these new shinier guys like Watson and whatever, who really aren't that good, but they're kind of in there. And then he gets pushed down. So I don't get it, especially don't get it with the Roethlisberger thing being in the top 10 and him not, but whatever. One person's opinion, some other guys' opinions. But again, when you look at guys like Cowherd and people like that are constantly on him, like they don't watch all the Packers games. They don't watch every snap like we do. And I don't even think Colin Cowherd ever played football. So what the hell does he know about football? Like think about that for a second. What the hell does he know about football?
Hey. Some people never played football, but really wanted to play football.
I get it.
That made them study it really, really, really.
I'm not talking about you. You studied it.
I'm just saying.
You studied it and you played vicariously through me. But Colin Cowherd was a rich kid. I mean, he's professed this. He's a rich kid, grew up, privileged, all this sort of crap, and then just started getting a chance to spout his mouth off about stuff. And he targets Aaron Rodgers. We don't know why. Anyway, some valid criticisms. Eka says Rodgers needs to throw to the open wide receiver better, diagnose, get through the progressions faster, and deliver the ball. Yes. And again, we've debated on the show with different guests like Corey and others and Browner about Rodgers probably not trusting some of his receivers as much as he needs to in order to do that. And we've seen it in the past. You know how many times I really got to do my research on this. I'd have to go through video and all this stuff, but I would love to find out how many of Aaron Rodgers' interceptions, 84 career interceptions were off of his receivers' hands. There have been a number of them.
2 of them last year. 2 out of the 4 were off receivers' hands last year.
And he hates interceptions. Mm-hmm. And that's been drilled into him. But so just picture that, right? You're throwing like an in-cutting route to a guy. You're not sure if that guy's got the greatest hands. You got to drill it in there because it's tight coverage and you're getting through a couple windows. And he hesitates because he's like, damn it, I don't want this to go off the guy's hands and be picked off by the safety.
That's the thing, I think, more than anything, because some people are saying that he just has a beeline for Devontae. I don't know what I was watching. I don't remember which video it was. I watched so many videos about Aaron Rodgers lately. It's like it gets all blurred. But there's one play, I think it was against the 49ers, or the Seahawks, or I don't even know. But it was a slant route to Devontae, and he was open. And Rodgers looks at him. Looks directly at Devontae, who's open. Now, it would have been a little bit of a tight route because it also had Jimmy Graham in the slot. Jimmy Graham was doing the same thing. He's also doing a slant, so it was like double slants. And the inside linebacker, or the outside linebacker, instead of blitzing, went back into coverage. So he was kind of there, but there was a window to throw it behind that, or to the outside of that linebacker to hit Devontae. And Rodgers looks at it and doesn't pull the trigger, even though Devontae was open and would have had a first down. And then the play ended up not happening. Like, he held the ball, nothing happened, tried to run around, and then got sacked. And that was one where he's looking right at Devontae, and he was good at it, and he just didn't throw it because he was too afraid that he's either going to get picked or tipped or whatever. And he won't take – and that's the one thing that Chris Sims said during his top 40 quarterback countdown when he put Rodgers at 3, was he's like, there's too many times when you watch the film where Rodgers just doesn't throw the ball when guys are open. And he looks at him and he still doesn't throw. He just doesn't like it. And he said that there's one time, and I remember him talking about this, where it was like a third down and something, and the Packers were, deep in their own, like inside their own 20. So it was like a, field position thing. And it was third down, and Rodgers had somebody was open, looked at him, and it was like a 10-yard in route or 20-yard in route or something, and he didn't throw it to him. And then they had to punt. And then he comes off the field, and LaFleur's like, what the heck? He's like yelling at him on the sidelines, and they're kind of getting at each other. And Chris Sims pointed out that next week on his talk show, and I listened to it, and he pointed out again now. He's like, LaFleur's getting mad at him. That was like week 3 or 4 or something like that, because he's not taking the shot. And it's like, Chris Sims is like, dude, you're Aaron Rodgers. You got one of the best arm. You got the best arm probably in the history of football. Throw the ball. Maybe you'll throw a pick. Maybe you'll get bounced off. But that's the thing that's so crazy when you go back, and the only thing that's really frustrating to me as a Packer fan, even, is when they're in playoff games, right? And the defense is, for years and years, right? And the defense can't stop anybody. And how many times do they get blown out and Rodgers is not taking shots? He's not trying, like against the Atlanta and against the 49ers way back when. Now this last 49ers NFC Championship game, he did try to take some shots at the end, and that's how he threw the pick that, because Sherman wasn't going to let him get beat again by Devontae. He just, went back and covered it and got a pick off it. And that was where Rodgers was taking shots at that point. But there's a lot of times where he's just like too reserved to take the shot until it's too late. And then at that point, then he starts taking shots. And it's like, dude, you're Aaron Rodgers. There's like nobody better than you. Nobody. His only weakness his 2 weaknesses are obviously, as we just talked about, he sometimes doesn't have the best mechanics because he's been haven't used to do that for the last couple of years now, where he's doing whatever he wants. And number 2, he don't want to throw picks. He doesn't want to throw any picks. So he doesn't throw it into windows that we all know he can throw it into. And that crap needs to change, because if you're going to be taking up 15 to 17% of the salary cap, they can't afford to get awesome guys at other spots. So you need to be awesome. You need to be one of the top 5 players getting paid in the league. You need to play like one of the top 5 players getting paid in the league. And that means you take that shot. You throw that ball when the guy's open by maybe a sliver or whatever it is, and make the frickin' pass. You are the man. You're getting paid like the man. You got to play like the man. And that's one of the most frustrating things about watching Rodgers is like, we know he can do it. And sometimes he just doesn't do it. And I think it's driving LaFleur mad. And that's why he was like, maybe that's why they got Jordan Love. Hate to say it.
Okay.
I don't know. Right. I'm losing it. I know.
You lost all your credibility there. Anyway.
What?
No, but here's the thing I'll say about that, right? To just a little, and people will call me a Rodgers defender or blah, 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 but whatever. I'm just trying to look at it as a whole round issue. Now, people will talk about a lot how that's been more recent in the last couple of years. Ekis agrees with you 100%. Excellent. If AR is going to be AR, then Love will be on the field. Isn't going to be AR, then Love will be on the field, and they're going to move toward him. I don't want that. Trust instincts. AR is awesome. Trust yourself. I agree too, I guess. But look at this. This is what I'm thinking. These type of things have happened more in recent years. And if you look, they had, other than Devontae, they had a complete overhaul of the pass catchers, right? I mean, these are all new guys. Goody went and drafted his 3 receivers in the late rounds, not even in the early rounds, because we can't ever do that. But late round receivers, and we don't know what happens in practice, right? So if Rodgers is trying these in-cutting routes with these guys and they're fumbling them and they're getting picked, or something else has happened in practice, it makes him pull back on those in the game, right? He's like, so again, I didn't see it. I don't know, but maybe those things are happening in practice with some of these guys. That's why you can't trust them. I really am curious moving forward this year to see, now that Lazard's in, supplanted in this system and has shown he can be reliable, and Devontae, and I want to see what they can do with Jace Sternberger. I want to see, because for years and years and years, we've talked about, since Jermichael Finley left, even though he was a piece of garbage and kind of a jerk, he had some talent, and he dropped some passes, but he made some good catches too. They haven't really attacked the middle of the field with a tight end, and they didn't have that. But if Sternberger shows he's got good hands and can be reliable, then maybe that is a new feature of the Packers offense. And then maybe Aaron Rodgers throws the ball over the middle more. But I mean, think about this. Just as a side note. Aaron Rodgers loved Richard Rodgers, and it wasn't because they had the same last name. Richard Rodgers was slow. He wasn't that tall, but that guy had great hands, and he could count on him. So he would throw it to him over the middle. The only problem was Richard Rodgers couldn't do anything with it because he'd fall down right away or get tackled right away, even though he's like 260 pounds, 170-pound cornerback would bring him down right away, which I never understood. Regardless, he would catch the ball. And when you're a quarterback and you also understand, in the grand scheme of things, not just for your legacy and all that, which is still probably partly on your mind, but the biggest factor in winning football games and losing football games is turnovers. That comes into play. You got to have guys that are reliable hands catchers. Ben brought up, we're not going to dig into Matt Hasselbeck this week, although Dad tried to say he'd take Matt Hasselbeck in there at some point. But in the comments, but I looked at Matt Hasselbeck's career statistics. I was curious. I've been looking at a lot of these kind of career, longer statistical things. And Hasselbeck had, 84.4 rating for his career. He had like a really good run, like 5-year run in Seattle, but then kind of some things before that and after that weren't all that great. But I mean, you and I remember a bunch of those years, even when he had that run in Seattle, he had dudes that would drop the ball left and right. They led the league in drop balls all the time.
His number one receiver was like Darrell Jackson or whatever, right?
Yeah, Darrell Jackson, and then Corin Robinson.
Was terrible.
And both those guys had lathered up.
Corin Robinson couldn't catch anything.
No. So I'm telling you, like, if you got guys that you can't rely on to catch it, especially in the NFL where the windows are tight and it's tight coverage and you got to drill it in a spot. I mean, Jordy Nelson wasn't so trusted and great because he had all these amazing tools. It was because he was reliable, he was smart, and yes, he had some speed and some skill, but he was a guy Aaron Rodgers could trust to make the play. And all of a sudden, all those guys were gone. So I'm just telling you, in the psyche, all that factors into, and we don't know what goes on in practice. Now, Ekis says, understand Jason, but just like Brady, we need to move to 3-step drop and balls going out unless Adams or whoever is streaking past, get the ball out. Yes. I mean, the ball has to go out. We get it. Yep. And we're on board. We're on board, Ekis. One thing before we get into anything else, I do have to say, I have to apologize the last couple of weeks. I have not been a good listener on the show. I've been interrupting too many people. I apologize for that. Mo, apologize.
I do it all. I do it all the time. I interrupt you all the time, and I don't apologize. So yeah.
Well, I know, but that's you. That's you. I'm just saying for myself. And same thing last week. I did it too much. So anyway, I apologize. However, in the beginning, I ruined Ben's shirt dance, and then whatever, because he was saying that he didn't even. So what he was trying to say is that he didn't even know that we were going to play his song at the beginning of last week's show, and he just happened to wear the Counter Void shirt. That was all coincidental. But I was talking over him because I actually had my other headset on where I couldn't hear Ben. I was listening to the music, and that's why. Otherwise, I would have let that one ring through because that was a beautiful, beautiful thing, Ben. And I screwed it up.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well, nobody cares. It's fine.
I care.
We're good.
All right.
We're good.
So I got
what a couple some of the comments that we missed all the comments?
A lot of Ekis, the things I just said. Bernard said he would take A-Rod over Favre, and I think that's consensus for most people.
100%.
Again, I mean, Favre was great. And Favre, the thing about Favre, the reason why Favre's legend lives so long and is so great, not only the personality with things, but where the team came from, where it was before, and then where he helped bring it to, so that's gonna hold on forever. I mean, Favre's gonna be a legend. Whether he threw 500 picks, he'd still be a legend because of what happened. So anyway, that's fine. Favre's got his place in Packer lore. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers not have his adequate place in Packer lore when his career is done, because he's been unbelievable. He's awesome. He's incredible talent. And not only that, the guy has done more for the community, for charities. He's active in social issues. Like he's said and taken stances on things when people don't have to do that. Like they don't have to do that. They can play it safe. They can stay out of that. He doesn't. So I respect him a lot for that stuff. And also I really love all the things that he does with his money. I mean, he's generous. He gives back. He's active in the community. He sees causes, and he understands that he has the ability with his position to lend voices, to highlight and be a megaphone for really important causes. And anything he believes in, he gets behind. And I'm very appreciative of that, because there's plenty of guys that come in the NFL, make a lot of money, and don't even worry about that stuff. So when I look at Aaron Rodgers and my fandom of him, some of it comes about from that stuff too. I'll just say that. And I have since I've been waiting for an opportunity to divulge this scenario, and I want to tell everybody. This is one other reason why I feel a bit of a kinship with Aaron Rodgers. Now, I have to say this first. Never met him. He's much better at his job than I ever will be at any of my jobs that I've ever had or will have. However, when he was getting so much flack for changing plays and like this and that, whatever, I kept thinking back to my experience in high school football. Now, granted, high school doesn't compare with the NFL. Understand? Please don't kill me for this comparison, but just hear me out. So when I was playing high school football, it was a small school. I was a two-way player, offense and defense. And I was my senior year, I was a tight end. Okay. So there were numerous times where, and this is me as a 18-year-old kid playing high school football, deciding to do this because I knew what was coming in was wrong, is that we would get the call into the huddle for the play. And everyone else was like, oh yeah, break. And I'm like, hold on a second. That's not going to work. And I wouldn't change the play, but I would correct the formation for my coach so the play would actually work. Now, I don't know all the logistics and all the specifics that went on with Mike McCarthy's calls and Aaron Rodgers' adjustments and things like that. But I was doing that as an 18-year-old because I knew what the coach called in or what the guy who ran from the sideline, maybe he got it wrong. I don't know. But however that came in, it was wrong and it wasn't going to work that way. So I didn't change the play to say, like, let's run this play, but I corrected the formation so the play that was supposed to be called would actually work under the proper formation. So anyway.
Did your coach ever get on you for that and be like, hey, or on anybody? Like, how come you guys changed the formation on me or something?
No, I don't think he realized that he called it wrong. Rick was not on offense very often, so he never experienced that in the huddle, but the guys looked at me and were like, what the hell? And I'm like, guys, this play it only works when we run it. And usually it was like the tight end, the formation was based on like what side the tight end was going to line up and what side the split end was going to be on. And if we ran a certain running play with not the tight end over there, but the split end over there, there was nobody to block the defensive end. And that play was going to get blown up right away, right? Because it was an unblocked man. So I'd correct it. So usually that was the case. It was basically just what side I was lining up on. And that's why I was so dialed into it. I'm like, wait a minute, like that doesn't make sense. I got to be there to block that guy or it's not going to work. So anyway, I made those adjustments as an 18-year-old. Now, I will say this. One of the times was actually a pass play to me that was called that definitely wasn't going to work if I lined up on the wrong side. And I was damn sure I only got like 14 balls thrown to me that whole year. So I was damn sure I was going to have that one, the right formation, because I actually got a ball thrown to me and it was actually called to go to me in that particular play. So anyway.
Yeah, we all know about that.
If you're hard on Rodgers about that stuff, or you're still whatever, there's a little food for thought from a kid, grew up in a little town in Wisconsin. It was 18 years old and corrected his coach back then. Was I in the wrong? You tell me. I don't know. Anyway, okay. I did have a couple of quick announcements since I made a nice break. Oh, wait. Rick says, I remember some calls for illegal formations with tight end, slot, and wide receiver all on the same side. I was not responsible for those, Rick. Come on. I was not. Those are probably ones I missed. Or maybe that was before I decided to start speaking up. But no.
Yeah, you didn't tell anybody else. You just fixed the formation and forgot to tell all your teammates, and that's why you were on the wrong side. You lined up next to the wide receiver, and there's nobody on the outside of the tackle on the other side. That's why you got illegal formation.
I called the correct formation in the huddle before we broke. That's what I did. At least a handful of times during my senior year of high school. Now, again, whatever. I don't know. I was a lot of guys, and I was an offensive lineman I know I don't look like it, but I was an offensive lineman for most of my high school years, and tight end my senior year. And so most people that are in that role don't pay that much attention to the whole offense or what the whole play is or all that sort of stuff. To like, oh, this play I blocked this guy or whatever, whatever. But I was very tuned in to like everything, very cerebral player. And sometimes I was to my detriment. I wasn't aggressive enough, but I was very cerebral. And in being cerebral, I knew everything that was supposed to happen. And that's why I knew that stuff. That's why I made those corrections. So anyway, 25 years later, I'm defending myself on our show. I don't know why the hell I'm doing that. Whatever. It happened. There it is. Rick still calling me out, thinks I screwed up those formations, but I didn't. I do have a couple of quick announcements since I made a big break in here. One is I am starting two new shows, not here, not with Ben. I'm doing an audio podcast because I paid for my subscription for the year before I could cancel it. So I got to do something with it. So I'm doing an audio podcast, which I think is going to be called The Call for Human Decency, or it might be the Human Decency Revival. If you have thoughts on that, chime in the chat. Tell me what you prefer. The Human Decency Revival or the Call for Human Decency. We're really going to focus on just trying to bring people together as humans, talk about awesome stories, deal with some of the issues that are going on. I'm going to get more into that stuff on that podcast. It's going to be audio only, no video. You don't have to look at me, which is great. Everybody appreciates that. Also, I want to expand something here. And it was when we talked to Browner that really got me on this. And then you remember Gloria Moore, who we grew up next to, Ben, one of our neighbors.
Yep.
So she's a small business owner in Algoma. And I just started thinking, I'm a big supporter of small business and local, buying local and supporting local. And I was like, there's so many cool stories. Browner talked about that donut shop in Menominee, some of the other groups he's been involved in Eau Claire. I'm like, there are these great business owners and stories all across the state. And so I want to do a statewide program called Go Local Wisconsin. And it's going to be featuring people from all that I get connected to from all over the state, all walks, all businesses, all nonprofits, all walks of life. Basically, what's their passion? What are they doing? Why is it important? How did they get there? And some of the meaning behind all of it for them. And then, of course, promoting like awareness and highlighting, shopping local and supporting your local businesses and your friends and neighbors all at the same time. So those two things are coming soon from me in one form or another. If the radio show doesn't happen, I'm still going to do that. We might turn the radio show into Go Local Wisconsin. I don't know yet. So anyway, those are some announcements. Announcements are over. Ben.
I don't have any announcement.
What do you got? You got Aaron Jones announcement? What's going on with Aaron Jones? Oh, one side note.
I don't know.
While we finish on Aaron Rodgers, of course, Chris Sims, if you didn't see his list. Now, Chris Sims has had Aaron Rodgers as his top-rated quarterback from 2010 through 2019. Every year, Aaron Rodgers was his number one quarterback in the league. I don't think anyone's topped any quarterback list for that length of time that I can remember. So consider that when you also think about Rodgers' career. Chris Sims looks at a lot of different factors. He doesn't just look at the stats. He's looking at the players around, the offensive system, like all this stuff. But he did drop Rodgers to number 3 this year for the first time. So the two above him are Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes. And the very next day, man, Colin Cowherd had to have Chris Sims on his show to talk about how Aaron Rodgers is below Russell Wilson. Ben, I know you watched it, right?
Yeah, I watched it. It's...
Cowherd.
Cowherd had to be like, Cowherd had to be like, oh, I've had Russell Wilson ahead of Aaron Rodgers the last 3-4 years. That's what he was saying. And Sims was like, saying, oh, it hurt me to put him at 3, but that's just the way it is right now. And then he talked about the same things we talked about earlier today about why he put him at 3. And he said and they talked about Russell Wilson saying that, Russell Wilson's got some flaws too. It's not like he's perfect.
No.
So I don't want to hear that. But they were saying that if the Seahawks would pass the ball more in the first and second quarters instead of run the ball so much and then always be behind and then have Russell Wilson have to try to come back and win the game for him in the end. And I'm like, well, maybe if he's throwing the ball more in the first half, he's throwing picks and doing stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
we've seen him stink up the joint a few times against the Packers for sure. So, it's not like I don't think he's nearly as consistent as Rodgers. He certainly had the last couple of years, he's really fine-tuned his play a lot, I think, in terms of his consistency. But prior to the last 2 years, it hasn't been that consistent. Anyway, just wanted to point that out, that how quickly Colin Cowherd had to get someone on there to agree with him. I want to talk about this because, all right, I've hammered on Billy Turner a lot because of his play, not the person. I just don't think he's very good at football and very good for the Packers offensive line, but whatever. He's okay at run blocking. I don't know. Anybody like Billy Turner want to defend him? Put it in the chat. But I will say this, Billy Turner has been good for the Packers culture. And he's also been good for opening up eyes for people about some of the stuff going on for people of different ethnicities other than Caucasian. So he's very well spoken. Seems like a really cool dude, smart, thoughtful. And he's been did an interview with NFL Network this past week. It's on the Packers website. You should watch it if you haven't. He's honest, open guy about a lot of this stuff. And I think he cares. And I think he does. I think he works hard. I just wish he would block longer than 1 second. But anyway, a cool dude to have on your team for sure. And I appreciate, that he brought to the Packers.
Oh, hey, you just brought up NFL Network, which made me think of something.
Oh, good.
Michael Robinson, who was a fullback for the Seahawks for a while there.
Mm-hmm.
was on NFL Network, and he said that Aaron Rodgers is going to be MVP this year.
Michael Robinson?
Yeah, Michael Robinson, who usually gives no credit to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he's usually down on Rodgers. I thought it was a cut coming or a slight.
Well, that's the thing. That's what he said, and that's why I clicked to see what was going on because it was on YouTube, a little clip from that, So I was like, ooh, what's this? And it said Mike Robb, so I was like, Mike Robb. I don't know. I figured it was Mike Robinson, but I don't know. And it was Michael Robinson, who usually talks smack about Aaron Rodgers, but that's besides the point. And so then he says, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to win MVP this year. And he said, and then he went on to talk about how it's because he's going to be so mad. He's so mad because they drafted Jordan Love, and he's going to be on fire, and everybody's not having him in the top 10 lists. And it's like he's going to be so fired up about all this stuff that he's just going to go crazy and destroy the league and all this kind of stuff. So it was almost like a backhanded compliment, because I don't think he actually believes in him either. But I'll say this. Anytime a guy is winning the MVP, the last, I don't know how many years, he's in the top 4 or 5 teams in the league at the end of the year. He's got a 1, 2, or 3 seed at the end of the year and going into the playoffs. So I'll take that. And I'll take Aaron Rodgers getting another MVP. He should already have a third one already. We all know that, Matt Ryan, whatever. But hey.
Yep.
So, and Mike Robinson's not, usually I don't believe anything he says. I don't listen to him that much. I don't like him as far as like what he talks about, but I'll take it. I just thought it was interesting that it's on video, him saying it. So he must believe it. And he wasn't like joking about it. He was just saying it straight up. The other thing I saw, I didn't get the chance to watch it. James Jones did his top 5 receivers going into 2020, and I didn't watch it. And I'm assuming Devontae made it because James Jones is a quarterbacker, and he'll probably put Devontae on there. But
and he was like a mentor for Devontae. They knew each other in Southern California.
So I'm guessing he's got Devontae on there. Sure. But
yeah, I'm sure
that was one of the next things I was going to do. I was going to try to do like the top 10 running backs and top 10 wide receivers and all that kind of crap, and try to do my own list that way and see who I think is up there.
We got a running backs question here. Sorry to interrupt. Before we get to it though, I want to just say this because I've kind of been sitting on that idea about Rodgers. The more this stuff goes, the more slights, the more cuts, the more people doubting him. I mean, go for it. I'm ready for him to harness all that anger and make that chip so big that he destroys everybody. No, he can't do it on his own. That's the thing.
Right.
We talked about this last week.
He can't do it on his own. He's got to do it within the structure of the offense with everybody.
And he's got to be able to rely on guys. Got to be reliable. They got to have the pieces in place. But that's why I'm hopeful this is what I'm really looking for. I'm really looking for Jay Sternberger to become a passing threat mismatch. Lazard, Devontae. I'm not putting a lot of hope or weight into Funchess or anybody else. MVS coming alive after being a head case and all this stuff and having the dropsies and whatever. And Kumero's nice, but he's not that much different than Lazard, so I don't see him fitting into being a big part of the offense. But between Sternberger, Adams, and Lazard, those guys got to be reliable and studs. And then when you take the running game and Aaron Jones having another big year, I think it could happen. Okay, running back question. Aaron Jones, Eckes has a couple questions now. Look, he just keeps coming. He's firing them out. He says, Aaron Jones, are we going to give him a contract? I know that we signed Dylan, but he's not the same running back. He put WR, but I know what you mean, Eckes. We got you. A. Jones sounds like he wants to stay. He does. He said he wants to be a Packer for life. $4 to $5 million a year, 3 years. Thoughts? I don't think they can get him that cheap.
No way.
No, he's worth more than that.
No way.
They're gonna have to go, like you were saying, hopefully. I mean, if they can get him for $8 million a year,
if they can get him for 8 or 9, that would be a steal. And I don't know if that's even something that he would be willing to do, because you got to think of all these guys, like, the way Mo was talking. Cook wants like 14, 15 million a year.
Yeah.
And his stats aren't that much better than Aaron Jones, and they're actually not better than Aaron Jones last year. And he's got just as much injury issues as Aaron Jones has had.
Right.
And he wants 14, 15 million a year. When Aaron Jones led the league in touchdowns and all, I know me, I go on and on about Aaron Jones. It's just the hardest part is the Packers don't usually sign back guys that are like that. This is what I hope to God happens. And it's crazy. and I don't think they'll ever do it. But the premier price for a premier halfback or tailback or whatever they call them nowadays is much less in the total price of your salary cap compared to a premier wide receiver, or even a number 2 wide receiver, like a top 10 running back or something like that. Actually, to sign him is going to cost less than a number 2 receiver does right now. And if they can think of that and understand, hey, this guy is a playmaker. He touches the ball 20 to 25 times a game. He is one of the main things that makes our offense go. And the price point for that halfback, yes, maybe you can draft a guy who could be almost as good and all that kind of stuff. But his abilities, and if they actually use him properly, the return on that investment is going to be way better than a number 2 receiver who gets the ball 4, 5, 6 times a game from a guy who's going to get it 25 times a game, and maybe 5 times in the passing game and 15 times in the running game. Even if they have Dylan running the ball 15 times or whatever, Aaron Jones as a running back would still touch the ball more than even Devontae touches it. So why? And that's the other thing I don't understand. And I get it. You have a wide receiver and he's dynamic and he's out on his island and he does whatever he does, and these running backs, they're considered to plug and play. But the way the Packers have run things lately, they don't pay wide receivers either. So I want to see him sign Aaron Jones back, understand what they have, realize that it's not a high price to pay for a dynamic player on their offense who technically, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion, was the MVP of the offense last year. He made things happen when a lot of other guys didn't and couldn't, especially when Devontae was hurt. So that's what I want to see. I want to see teams start to realize this stuff. This guy is a dynamic guy who's he touches the ball only less than the quarterback. All right. So when you think about that, and he's getting paid less than a left tackle, less than a top receiver, less than a number 2 receiver, most halfbacks are making less than all those guys. Like the 2 tackles are making more money than the halfback is. 2 tackles make it, less than the wide receivers. There's some tight ends that make more money than the halfbacks. And it's crazy when you think of how much they touch the ball and how integral they are to the offense.
Well, that's the part I wanted to say, because Jones, they showed you last year when Adams was out and they had to use Jones in different ways, how important and how versatile he could be to being the spark plug for the offense, not just running the ball, but catching the ball, lining in the slot, even splitting out wide, running the circle road up the sideline. Like, those are things. And he showed he had good hands. Now he dropped that one and then he made up for it. But he showed numerous times he's got good hands catching the ball. Once he gets it in space, he's super effective.
Heck yeah.
And that's like, what do you want out of a receiver? If a guy catches it in space, who's the most effective type receiver? A guy that catches it and it gets tackled right away, or a guy that catches it and can do something with it? And Jones has enough speed to beat the mismatch, because if you got a receiver line or a running back lined up at receiver, they're going to put a safety. If it's man, they're going to put a safety, or they're going to put a linebacker on him. He's fast enough to beat those guys. So it is a chess piece in your offense. It's super important. So even though Bernard's saying you can't overpay running backs, he loves Jones, but he doesn't know. Jones is the type of running back that you do pay, and not. Someone made this interesting point. There's a couple of things to consider here. Someone made this interesting point about, I don't remember what I heard it on, but it was I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. They were talking about the Jets, and they're talking about the Jets signing Le'Veon Bell to the big contract, right? Now, Le'Veon Bell didn't all of a sudden suck, but he went to a team with a crappy offensive line. So that also matters. So it's not like you're signing a free agent running back to big money when you don't have a decent line that can function. You have a decent line. Jones works well with that line. And that's the other part that a lot of people don't think about. Running backs and how they work with that offensive scheme and the line itself is those two things have to mesh together for success in the run game. Like it's not just about the running back and it's not just about this great bruising offensive line because you got a great offensive line, but you got a running back can't find the holes. That doesn't work. Jones has shown, and you watch it. He doesn't need big holes. He gets a little sliver, boom, I'm getting that. Or he sets up the blocks. So based on all of his attributes, he's worth it. I think 3 years is the right amount because he's a running back. I don't think you can go for a 4-year contract or whatever. You can't expect him to play that long with the abuse and everything else. But Ben's point about how often they touch the ball, that's huge. Think about that. Think about dollars per touch, right? You're paying these receivers this amount of money. You pay a running back this amount of money. For an average production at running back, yeah, okay, I get it. Let him go, get another one in. But for a guy that's special, which Jones is, you got to pay a little more. And because he's already professed, I want to be on the team. I want to be a Packer for life. He's a good kid. He knows the system. He likes what's going on here in Green Bay. Sign him. Get a reasonable deal worked out. 8 or 9 million is not too much for 3 years for that guy. You're already saving a crap load of money on your receivers. You know that because they're all cheap as hell, except for Adams.
Well, that's the other thing. They're going to have to wonder, because Lazard and Kumaro are on 1-year deals, right? So after this year, and they can't be restricted. They're not going to be restricted free agents after this year. So those are guys that also are going to have to make, if they want to keep those guys, they're going to have to get some dollars that way. I mean, okay, how much money did Funches get this year? I'm wondering. I bet you he's got 8 or 9 million a year.
He had that. We talked about his contract when they signed him. It's very incentive based. It's very incentive based. Like he's got the ability to maybe earn like 4.5 million or something. I think he can earn 3 million in bonuses if he gets like certain number of catches and over 1,000 yards.
Well, Billy Turner's making 8 or 9 million a year.
Billy Turner's making
that's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. He's not very good at blocking, but he does make a lot of money. He's a very nice guy and smart and all those things I said before. I don't
restructure his deal. Use that money to sign Aaron Jones. Boom, you're good.
Yeah. Rick says
restructured Lane Taylor. So hey,
right. Rick says the Pack won't pay big money for wide receivers or running backs, which they've proven. Well, they did put some money into wide receivers.
They gave money. They gave. Jordy got.
Jordy Cobb
got a second contract. Devontae got a second contract.
Yep. But he doesn't see them paying Jones unless Jones gives him a break. Again, I think they got to meet somewhere in the middle. And maybe that 8-9 million range is where you do it. Also depends what he does this year.
Well, his numbers are going to be down this year. I don't care what anybody says. Unless I think his catches could be up if they are smart and they use him with Dillon at the same time. And just have him have him start in the backfield, then move him in motion, to a wide receiver position, either in the slot or all the way out the outside, and see what the defense is going to do about that. And either are they gonna give us a big hole for Dillon to run through or whatever. I think what's going to happen is his carries are going to go down for sure, but I think his production as far as overall are still going to be about the same. He's not going to get 1,000 yards rushing this year. It's just not going to happen. Not when they have Dillon and Williams there.
I think he will.
I don't know.
I think what they're going to find when they get into game mode is that Dillon is not going to be that successful with their offensive line yet.
Well, that could be true.
I think it's going to take some time, just for them to get on the same page and gel. But I also think Dillon needs bigger holes, and the Packers' O-line doesn't always open up big holes. We've said this before, and I've pointed that out before too. Jones.
I think the other thing is when
Jones makes them look good sometimes.
Yeah, when they have a lead, Jones won't be in there getting these crappy carries when the defense knows. You know what I mean? Now it's going to be Dillon, which will actually help Aaron Jones. Because for a while, he was averaging 5.7 yards per carry his first couple of years in the league, and then last year went down to 4.6 or whatever, because he was getting all these stinking, late games when they had to lead, and they were just running him into a plow, a bunch of guys, and nobody could give him any holes to get through. He's getting tackled right away. That won't happen as much.
That and the wear and tear he had. There were some games he had more than 30 carries. That's too many carries for him. So to offset that a little bit is a good thing. I just don't.
All I know is when the season was on. Well, he was not online.
What?
When the game was on the line against Detroit, who did they go to? Aaron Jones. And it was Rodgers called the play. Rodgers called the play, right? Called the screen pass.
That's why Rodgers should call the plays. I'm sorry. No,
I kind of, I don't mind Rodgers calling. Usually Rodgers does. Hey, Matt Flynn, that game he had against Detroit all those years ago.
Right.
Rodgers called a whole offense that year. Matt Flynn had 6 touchdown passes, which was a Packer record or whatever. And Rodgers tied it, but
yeah,
think about that. Matt Flynn is tied for the record for the most touchdowns in a game because Aaron Rodgers called the game for him. Yeah. I mean, that's nuts. I don't mind Aaron Rodgers calling plays. He knows what he's doing. But
yeah,
we'll see.
I agree. We just all want him to throw the ball on time. That's all. Yeah. But I don't expect Dylan to light the world on fire. Eka says Aaron Jones is similar to James White, ?
No, he's better.
No, I mean, James White is awesome for
White doesn't have the speed and the agility Aaron Jones has got.
Right. And he's not as effective a runner for sure.
No.
He's very reliable, I mean, he should have been Super Bowl MVP a couple years ago in the comeback against the Falcons because he was really the reason they won the game. I mean, everybody credited Tom Brady, but it was really him. Plus should have been, Badger MVP, but whatever. But anyway, James White has a lot of good attributes, but not the speed, not the shiftability. He is reliable, good hands, solid runner, but he's on a different level than Aaron Jones. That's
if the Rodgers, hey, if the Packers gave the ball in the passing game as much to Aaron Jones as the Patriots give to White, Aaron Jones would destroy everybody.
Yeah,
but he doesn't get the passes like White got because Tom Brady ain't going to hold the ball more than 2 seconds. They said last year. Okay, I did see a stat. I know you don't want to talk about Rodgers anymore, but there's a stat.
Go ahead.
When Rodgers held the ball for more than 2.5 seconds last year, his passer or his completion percentage went to 51%.
Yeah,
51%. If he got the ball out before 2.5 seconds, it was 71%, and he ended up with a 62% rating for the year. So think about that.
Yeah,
he's got to get the ball out on time on the right place, and sometimes guys can't get open. I get it. But like I said, I think it was right when I saw that play where he looked at Devontae, didn't throw it, then ran around, and then got sacked because he's got to throw the ball when it's open, and he holds the ball too long. When he holds the ball, it's not like it's not a positive play. It's 51%. That's a 50-50 play when he's holding the ball too long.
Yep,
he's got to stop it, unless it's like dire straits, like the Packers against the Dallas Cowboys, in the playoff game. Fine. Then you got to run around, make a play. You've only got a couple seconds. You got to get a 30-yard pass to freaking Cook on the sideline. Okay, perfect. But that was a great play because he had Taylor run around with him, block for him for a little bit. That was a design play. That wasn't him, just running around for holding the ball for too long. That was a play where, hey, I'm going to hold the ball. Lane Taylor, you get in front of me and block for me and make sure that nobody gets to me. And it was a good, and then Cook, you just jog for some reason. Nobody will cover you, and then we'll throw it to you. I mean, come on.
Because
that was a good play. But,
because it's the Cowboys.
I know. I still, when you watch that play and you watch how Cook is just kind of like meandering across the field. I'm like, why is there nobody even like covering him? He's not even moving fast. Like, what is going on? Maybe he was moving. Maybe he's a deceptive speed. Maybe deceptive speed. I don't know. But
not according to his recollection of it. He's like, well, it was just get open. Just run over there. I knew if I got behind that guy, Aaron would put it in the right spot. I mean, Cook made a hell of a play because he had for a guy who has bad hands to secure that ball and not, let it move and all that, and then get his tippy toes in. That was like one of the most amazing plays of Packer playoff history. Anyone want to argue with me on that, go ahead. But yeah, he wasn't like doing anything special to get open on the play. Rodgers was just buying time and hanging out, and Lane Taylor's, hanging out in front of him.
Right, but on that play, Lane Taylor was there as a safety net. It wasn't him. Like the play was not called to go somewhere in the first second or two,
right?
And then
Yeah,
get the ball there, blah blah blah, and then him run around and try to make a play. No, this was, hey, I'm gonna run around. Lane Taylor, you get over here, give me a hand. Somebody get open, I'll get it to you. It was like they made it up as they were going, but it was designed for him to roll out, get an extra block, and then play. It wasn't a play that was designed to get the ball out of his hands within the first 2 seconds, and he decides not to throw the ball, and then he tries to make something happen. That's where it's got to end. And I know we go back to Rodgers all the time, and I'm sorry I keep going back to Rodgers.
Hang on.
It's one of those things where it's 51%.
Yeah,
is not good.
I saw that. I saw that too. I'm sorry, we misconstrued Eckes's comment here. He clarifies by saying his point was that Rodgers trusts Jones like Brady trusts James White. And
he does.
Right. He raves about Aaron Jones. He's been doing it for years. He's been raving about
we got to
Aaron
get you
Jones.
on. We got to get Eckes on next week or something.
I guess next week.
Right before his birthday's coming up.
Ooh, gonna be 51. Oh, no, I'm just playing 45.
I look like 51 with my white. I didn't shave today, man.
Eckes, next week you're on live. Jason Eckes. That's why you should tune in next week. Jason Eckes live.
Well, he's been like, what's going on? Eckes has got all these takes the last couple of weeks. It's like, what's going on?
Nick even complimented him last week. Said Eckes is making a lot of sense, more sense than any of us. I mean, not that that's hard, but still, he was doing it. So that's pretty cool.
Whoa.
All right, beer's gone. That means show's over, right? Anything else?
What time is it?
It's time to go. It's 10:10.
No way, really?
We're on the clock. We can no longer just ramble and.
How does that? I got to be honest. It seems like we didn't even talk about anything. How the hell do we talk for an hour and 10 minutes?
Do you not understand the genetic makeup of the Hafeman? The Hafemans are excellent at filling time. Is it always a good use of your time? Hell no. Does it always make sense? No. But we are damn good at continuing to talk and filling time. You cannot argue that. You can argue any of our takes. You can argue whether it's interesting or if it's boring, but you cannot argue that we are top notch at filling time.
And we did have a 10-minute technical difficulties at the beginning, so that helps out.
Exactly. And we always throw that in there for you too. You bet. All right. I love you guys. I love my bro. I've had a rough week, but this was fun for me and therapeutic. So I appreciate you all. Stay safe. There are trends going on in the country. We have not gotten past this thing, despite some people ignoring it. Be safe out there. Oh, I had one quick thing to add before we go. Bernard wants us to keep talking. Man, I know. Bernard, I think you are our 65th subscriber. We got a new subscriber this week, Ben, up to 65. Milestone. Bernard, thanks.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me this time.
Oh, really? Because I thought you were Marcos Funda, who was the latest subscriber. I thought, that's one of Ben's.
I don't know. That's a great name. I would like to be called Marcos Funda.
I got one thing to part with. This is a really interesting story. So I heard there was, and this is going back to the pandemic, and just again, everybody's sick of the whole thing. Everybody's sick of it, but we're in this situation together. This is what it is. Here is the power of mask wearing. And this is one thing I wanted to bring up tonight, but it's probably, we'll see if maybe we keep going on this. If you have things to say in the chat about it, we'll keep going. Otherwise, we're done. So there was a story from some state about a hair salon where two stylists tested positive for COVID after they had reopened, and they had seen 140 customers in the time before they reopened, and then finally got their tests and had symptoms bad enough they stopped going to work and got tested and figured it out. So in this state, which is a responsible state, they did contact tracing. They tracked down all those customers. All those customers got tested. Not a single one of those customers ended up with COVID-19 because this salon was requiring mask wearing for their employees, and the customers wore masks. So the simple thing now, hopefully we're all doing better hygiene, which is good, but the simple act of wearing masks prevented all those 140 customers from the spread of the disease. So this is where, I watched some things with Mark Cuban, who I really think is a pretty cool dude, especially for a rich dude. He's pretty awesome, but he didn't grow up rich. He created his own wealth. But Mark Cuban is straightforward, open guy. He's been on, and talks with the government about how to get the NBA to come back and like how to do like sports right now, how to do sports. How do we get sports back and have people in the stands? Because, baseball's coming out and they're not going to have fans. And that just seems weird, right? He was talking about this thing, how they were saying, well, if we have people buy tickets in groups, right? So they're buying tickets with their family or whatever, people that they're around or in their household of, then we don't have to keep 6 feet distance between every single person. We have this cluster of people here, then we have 6 feet around them, this cluster of people here, 6 feet around them, and so on and so forth. All the staff wears masks. All the people coming in and out wear masks until you're seated. If you leave your seat, you wear a mask. So my question to you is, whether you're wearing masks right now or not, when you go out in public or whatever, or how you feel about it, would you wear a mask to have sports back? Let me know in the chat. I sure as hell would. I wear a mask anyway at work. Anytime, I'm following those guidelines because we got 3 of us in my family have lung issues already. So something like this that attacks your lungs and inflames things could be devastating to us or really difficult. But I'm just thinking, could it really be that simple? Like, we're going back and forth about all this stuff. And you look at all the other countries, how the graphs and how they squashed it because they took aggressive action, and how the US, we're going in the wrong direction again. And we can't go back. I understand. We don't want to close businesses down. We don't want to do all that. But could we wear freaking masks? Could we just do it and not be like, oh, it's an infringement of my rights? If it's going to bring sports back, if it's going to let you go into places and you're protecting yourself and you're protecting others, is that okay? I'm down. I'm down. Sign me up. 100% mask wearing whenever I'm around people. Ekis says, of course, no hesitation. Rick says, yeah, simple enough thing to do to get a little closer to normal. What do you think? If you're not sure yet, just think about it. I mean, I can't imagine, like, even so, if you had that approach, right, for sports arenas and fields, you could still get what, 50% occupancy, somewhere between 40 and 60% occupancy, keep the social distancing. Once you're seated, you can take your mask off so you don't have to wear it for the 3-hour game. Just put it back on if you got to go to the bathroom, or whatever. I mean, you could still enjoy the sports. I get it. It creates a little difficulty with all the season ticket holders, right? So that's hard. Some of them aren't going to get to go to every game because you can't fill the place, but you can work that out in this type of situation this time of year. So that's what I think anyway. And Mark Cuban has come out with a lot of cool stuff on that. He's been leading the charge, and I think he's a smart dude. Ekis, I know he goes to a lot of Packers games. What did he say? If football goes this year, I'm not sure if I'm going to a Packers game. Okay. Might sell tickets. Just not worth it for your kid. I get it. Yeah. We got to protect our people. We got to protect our, I haven't seen my parents in months because of this whole thing. And I don't feel comfortable doing it. Especially with 40% of people potentially being asymptomatic. Anybody can get it. That's the thing. Like, hey, we all want to be done with this virus, but it's not done with us. So please wear your mask. Please wear your mask, and don't be rude to people that do. Gloria, who hear my voice there. I was a teenager for a second. Gloria, who I referenced before, is one of the only businesses in Algoma that's currently requiring mask wearing for her shop, for her store. And for some reason, people are giving her a hard time about it. I'm like, come on, man. Don't shop it. If it's that big of a deal to you, don't shop at her store then. But some lady was threatening to sue her and all this crap. And like,
what?
Yeah, it's just dumb. I can't wait to.
That's just dumb.
Gloria is going to be my first guest for Go Local Wisconsin. I'm super excited to talk to her because I sent her. I called her and I sent her a text first. Then I called her, get her number. I sent her a message, then got her. And then she's like, called me and she's like, I'm really uncomfortable doing this. Is this going to be live? I'm really uncomfortable, doing that stuff, whatever. I'm like, what the hell? You're uncomfortable? You're Gloria, man. You're not uncomfortable with anything as far as I knew. And, but she's like, oh, I got kind of nervous. And I was like, well, just picture me in my underwear. That'll make you feel better. And I was like, wait a minute. No, that'll make you feel worse. Don't do that. Don't picture me in my underwear. But But then we talked a little bit and she was telling me all this stuff. I'm like, we should start recording this right now. This is awesome. This is like the real deal. What's happening as a small business owner in a little town in Wisconsin? Like, what's up? What's happening right now? And she's telling me about this customer that's giving her a hard time about all this stuff. And I'm like, she's like, yeah, I just told the lady, why do you want to shop here? And she, the dumbest part about the whole thing, she offers curbside pickup. If you want an item, she'll set it up. She'll bring it to you outside. So if you don't want to wear the mask to follow her store policy to come into her store, she'll bring it to you. But this lady's still giving her a hard time and saying she's going to call the state on her and like all this crap. Like, get out of here, man. People like that, I don't have a lot of patience for you. All right. Bernard asks about, do we think there's going to be NFL this season? Yes. Too much money involved to not have it happen. Football's definitely gonna be harder, right? Chris Sims was talking about how quarterbacks lick their fingers, do all that stuff, right? And it's one ball, and you're throwing it. The center's touching it. Guys are tackling each other. There's saliva. There's other stuff happening. Yeah, they're gonna have to be on their game. They're gonna have to be on their game, testing. They'll be on their game, monitoring. They're going to have to isolate guys. Eckes, have a good night. We'll finish up soon. But I do think there's going to be football, but they're going to have to bring some things into play. Again, it's going to go back to money. In the end, there's too much money to be lost if they don't do football this year.
The thing that I didn't even think about, they were bringing up on, I think it was Rich Eisen that I heard this on. And he was talking about, it didn't even cross my mind because I don't, think about that sort, like coaches and training staff and the doctors and this and that. But there's a lot of older coaches and older training staff and older doctors that are out there that it's one thing if a young, a 20s, 30s year old athlete at peak condition getting COVID-19 is probably not going to affect them that much. But if they get it and they can somehow give it to a training guy or a coach, his position coach who works directly with him. Like there's some defensive line coaches who are like in their 50s, who are just, an offensive line coach, like James Campen's an older guy when I remember he was with the Packers and, all that kind of stuff. And if somebody on their offensive line gets it, they don't know right away, or maybe their symptoms don't show at all because they're young athletes with, they just have a better immune system. And then somehow this older coach would get it and it would affect him. And then that coach would, God forbid, die or something crazy happen like that. That would stop the season pretty dang quick, in my opinion. Like if that happened, like that would be the end of it. Like, because it's one thing because I didn't even think about, an older coach or whatever, like, and it's one thing for these, these young players are like, oh, I'll take the risk. It's not going to hurt me. A lot of the guys in the NBA had it. Now there's some guys, on each team, a couple guys with the Houston Texans and Arizona Cardinals and some other guys have had it. Ezekiel Elliott's already gotten it. It doesn't, they're young guys and it's like, whatever. It doesn't affect them as much. But when you think about how that can translate to or transmit it to somebody who is at high risk, who also works within that team's organization some way, somehow, that's a risk that those guys have to take. So how can the NFL go forward with that, knowing that risk could be there for those coaches? And yeah, they're not right in the middle with them, but a lot of those guys, they're going to be in a small room together. They're going to all have to wear masks. I'm sure there's going to be different protocol and things going on. And I think they could still probably coach, at a distance. But a lot of those guys have to teach techniques and things, and they're right in there with them, teaching them techniques. And then as a training staff, you're going to be right on top of guys, training them and making sure they're doing good. Strength coach, all this kind of stuff. And it's something that I didn't even think about, but it could really affect the season. And as far as money wise, like my thought was always, oh yeah, well they got to play. Even if they have no fans, the money from TV is going to be enough money that it'll have to play. Like they have to play. But I think if anybody gets sick, that's on a coaching staff who's older and gets really, really really sick, really bad, that could really look bad on any team, whether it's NBA, NFL, baseball, whatever, hockey, whatever, soccer. I guess soccer is playing right now, and they're making the soccer players and everybody like quarantined themselves. Like they can't leave the hotel room like a month and a half or however long this season. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't know if the NFL is going to do that, but those are things like, is that like legitimate? You know, are players going to want to do that? Like sit in a hotel room for like 3 weeks or whatever it is? And that's in basketball where they're trying to keep it all in one spot. Well, football, they're not going to do that. Football, they're going to play at everybody's place. So all these teams are going to have to still travel everywhere and stay in hotels and all this stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I've been thinking more and more about it, and I'm like, I don't know if it's a great idea. But if everybody wears masks, and like you said, that one hair salon had 2 people that had COVID-19, and they were giving haircuts and styling people's hair, 144 people, and none of them got it because they were wearing masks and washing their hands after. And, you know, as long as you're using good hygiene and using the protective measures, maybe it will be enough for football teams to do that. But the biggest tricky thing is, what are these guys doing on their own time? Are they going doing something stupid somewhere else and then brings that back? So whenever they're in the facility, whenever these teams and the organizations and everybody that's part of the organization is in the facility, before they get there, after they get there, they got to be super sterile, super clean, super protected, take all the precautions to make sure this stuff doesn't transfer. And that's the only thing I would say is hopefully those guidelines will be in place the best they can. And that's the only way they can make it happen. Because if anybody got sick and died from this, as whether it's training staff or whatever, that would be like the worst. That would make the NFL look so bad. And I mean, nobody want that PR nightmare. Nobody.
I agree with you, but the one thing I'll say is the reason there will be football, the reason these things will happen is because of the country we live in. Yeah. This country looks at this whole thing different than a lot of places, and that's the sad truth of it. Now, is a year off worth or not taking a year off worth lives lost? Hell no. But some people argue it is, and the freedom and the other things, and they'll go back to all that, and that's fine. You know, there are legitimate points to be made, but when you're not sure you can do it safely, it is a risk, and that's a risk people are going to have to decide whether they take or not. I do think the NFL is going to find a way to proceed. I think if they're smart, they would consult with Mark Cuban, like that dude. I think he's got his head on straight. And also my friend Rick Dahl, who has 2 science majors, and I know he's not what did you say it was? Epidemiologist or gynecologist? No, that's
whoa!
I don't think that's wrong. Right. That's a little flare because we're almost an hour and a half in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, whoa.
No, he said something about whatever the technical term is for the
people. I know, last week,
that study diseases, and I was like, dude, I don't know what that word means or what.
It's a big word, and I tuned him out after that.
But either way, get somebody smart like that to help you figure out how to minimize everything, and because I think obviously the players want to play, people want to see it, and we're hopeful that it can happen. Bernard says, as a parting note, Bernard Nixon says. Oh, Rick says he's not either of those. I know, Rick. I was just throwing that in there. Add it to your list. I know you get a lot of alphabet soup after your name. I have no alphabet soup after my name. So that's one of the ways we differ. But 31, 32 ACT, damn, that's impressive. Anyway, Bernard says, you guys are awesome. So thanks, Bernard.
Hey, we appreciate anybody listening to us. I don't know who you are, but
anybody that's still listening or listened previously or had a chance to hang with us at all, you're awesome. You guys have a good weekend. Be safe. Ben, I love you, but you need a haircut. Dude. Get a haircut.
I look so bad, I know. I don't care anymore.
Everybody take care of yourselves. Have a good weekend, okay?